Hi, welcome to our Las Vegas news desk. I'm Bill McLaughlin, editor-in-chief of Furniture Today. I'm here with Danielle Vincent from TD Bank. Danielle, welcome. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you, Bill.
It's been a very eventful year this year. Retail seems to be struggling. We still have interest rate concerns. From your perspective, what insight can you offer our viewers in terms of how retail is performing, the role that financing is playing in
Yep.
helping to drive sales?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Bill, and also the observation. So yes, it has been a tough year. That being said, I think everyone's remaining optimistic, and everyone is remaining in communication and talking about, what can we do to help drive sales? Because you're right, it's been a struggling year in terms of retailers, meeting the sales that they expected, for this year. And same thing from a financing perspective. The rates aren't coming down as quickly as we thought, but we're remaining optimistic. And I think some of the things that we like to point to, we did a survey back at the High Point Market, and like the fact that retailers were being optimistic about this kind of back half of 2024 and into 25, or at least expecting steady, right? So from a mindset perspective and what retailers were really thinking in, that mid-April timeframe was really, thinking in terms of sales will be steady, or they will increase. From what we've seen so far, they've remained steady. That being said, is financing, taking a little bit of a back seat? I would say yes, a little bit, but it's still part of the consideration set. And what I mean by that is a lot of retailers, and not surprising, are really shifting to that, the lower term, lower duration plans versus using the long term, longer financing plans, more cost, but they're still keeping it in the consideration set, which is great and which is optimistic.
One of the things we're hearing as we go out to retailers and ask them about their plans for 4th of July and promote the holiday is that financing is going to play a key role in that, and that they're trying to kind of amp that up a little bit to see if they can't draw consumers. What does that look like as it translates to retail? And you mentioned shortening the term or shortening the duration. So in terms of the tiers of financing, is that placing more priority on that first tier private label credit card? Is that what you mean when you say shortening the term? And how does a retailer affect that kind of a change?
Yeah, so let me kind of unpack a few things that you said there. July 4th, absolutely. So 100%, it's a big time for retailers, and they're using those longer term plans to advertise, right? And I think we've seen that throughout this year as well, is being very strategic in terms of when you are doing those offerings and doing them during those peak periods and those sales times. And that's what we're seeing is helping to drive, that customer to come in and, make that purchase. And again, financing is in the consideration set. And I would say it's at the top in terms of their marketing strategy when trying to drive consumers in, is promoting the financing that they have. The longer duration does help with increasing that purchase price. So I do think that retailers, and we're seeing the benefit of it as well, that they're continuing to offer those type of plans, because it does help drive that incremental sale, right? So that extra piece of furniture, that you're going to buy. We've heard time and again that this year and probably into next, not, from a retailer perspective, they're not buying as much at one time, but they are coming back in to complete that set. Or, they are buying, a few pieces of that set. And we do feel and find and see in the data that offering those longer term plans and pulsing them at key peak periods, like you mentioned, the July 4th holiday and other major events as Labor Day kind of comes up, retailers are doing that, and that's smart. And it's an effective way of making sure, you keep those plans in the mix, but you're smart and you know when you're going to offer them.
Now, in your role, you keep a very, very
Yep.
close with interest rates. That's really critical to what you do. As someone who has expertise in the area, what's your prognosis for where we're going to head with interest rates as we finish out 2024 and into 25?
Yeah, and I think I've given you this answer before. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think many people do. That being said, we don't expect major dips or upswings. So we kind of see this as being steady state, and probably we'll see a little bit of a dip in the next, call it four months or so. But we see kind of the same as we have this year, where rates have been staying the same. We do feel that this will come down. That being said, we're expecting fairly similar for 2025. Is that the housing market is starting to rebound, and it really depends where you are, in across the U.S. But it's a slow cycle to get fully back up. And a lot of the retailers in our conversations that we're having with them, new home purchases drives, a fair amount of, sales, call it, anywhere between 20 to 35%. But your question is fair. I think we're going to expect the same, so steady rates.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's steady as she goes throughout the remainder of the year. If you're hard, you're going to continue to work hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for tuning in.